How's it going? Here we go with Let's Edit Lightroom Edition. I figured I'd try something new, different from the blogs. Writing became a little bit tedious, so I figured I'd show you guys my workflow and how I go through editing these images in Lightroom. First off, I like to start out with cropping the image. Lightroom has a nice little bar on the side, and I usually start from the top, work my way down. This image was taken on a trip back from Bakersfield. The light rays were coming through, just looking amazing. However, we were pretty dead set on getting back, so there wasn't any stopping or anything like that. So I used what I had, grabbed my camera, and just shot some pictures really fast, and came out with this one. So trying to get this thing aligned here, maybe adjust it the other way. That was not the right way to go. All right, looks good. Undo that. Crop it the other way now. I first got into using Lightroom probably about a year and a half ago. Sort of just been teaching myself how to use this thing. It's a pretty powerful program uh, compared to Photoshop. I mean, Photoshop, you can just do dang near anything in that thing. You can add light rays with Photoshop if you wanted to. I was pretty fortunate to see this, and the light rays, they were already there. So next I try to adjust this temperature here. There's a white balance little eyedropper, but I mean, you can hunt around in an image looking for a neutral gray, but I mean, you kind of gotta use the presets if you want, and then just manipulate it from there. I can remember what it kind of looked like after the fact, so I'll make my adjustments manually and usually just eyeball it. And then the exposure, I kind of give a rough estimate when it comes to exposure. Highlights, I usually just dump them all the way. And then contrast, it's already a kind of a dark image. The mountains are really dark, so I don't want to go too heavy with it. And then I'll open up the shadows just to see if I can bring out some of those mountains. Because these are global edits, I mean, this is also going to affect the clouds, and it's kind of different. You want the clouds to look a certain way and the landscape to look a certain way. Next, I'll balance for my whites and my blacks, or my white point and my black point. Try not to push it too far. I usually just go until you can kind of see a little bit when you hold the Alt or Option key on a Mac. And then clarity, I mean, I hit it pretty heavy to see what it's going to do. I don't really like it, so I'm just going to zero it out for now. And then the vibrance, I really want to up that. I shot this from a moving car, and there's already like a kind of a manufacturer's tint on the front driver and passenger windows. So there was kind of a green cast in the beginning of the image. I just want to edit that out. Increase my exposure just a little bit more. And add some more contrast. And then reduce this one. I'm really not sure what both of these kind of do. I mean, it seems like if you want to add contrast, you can add it with that option. But then with the tone curve, I mean, you can sort of refine the amount of contrast that you're putting in it, I guess. And then I just change the hues a little bit, because again, the car window, it casts sort of a green tint over everything. So I kind of want to pull those colors back to where they kind of were in the original image. And then the blues, I just punch those up because I want to see about bringing out some blues in the sky. And then split toning, I don't really use this all the time, but a good method is I'll really increase the saturation just so I can find what color kind of looks best with the scene. And then I'll reduce the saturation after the fact. And I usually start around 10 when it comes to highlights, or 5. In this case, 10 looks good. And then the shadows, I try to find a complementary color. I think the original was like orange, so orangish yellow. Purple kind of goes with that. And then with the shadows, I usually have it just slightly higher than the highlights in terms of the saturation. And then sharpening, I usually just go to town with the sharpening on a landscape. I mean, this is global, so I really want to mask out the sky as much as possible. But you can see that a lot of the clouds and even those light rays are going to get some sharpening. I didn't mean to do that. And just mask it out a little bit more. Because I shot at ISO 100, I'm not really too concerned with noise or putting any noise reduction in this image. It would just kind of soften it. And then just add a little bit of vignette. Kind of brings more attention to the center. It looks good sometimes, not all the time. And then the dehaze. I wanted to open it up with a little bit of dehaze because I was shooting through a window and just sharpen it up, sharpen the overall image up a little bit. But I didn't want to go too high, otherwise I would have really lost some of those light rays. Now I add my graduated filter, and I'll make my edits for the sky. I'm going to cool it off just a little bit. And by cooling the temperature, it's really just making it look a little bluer. And decrease my exposure a little bit. Bring my highlights up so it can really bring that kind of a glow in between the clouds. And then decrease my shadows just a touch because it'll add a little bit of natural contrast to the clouds. I really pushed this. I wanted to see what the clarity was going to do. Kind of looked, I don't know, didn't really look natural, so I'll bring it back. That looks about right. And then just toggle this so I can see the before and the after. Sometimes you can go a little too much, and it's good to hit that toggle switch so you can make your changes later. And then I'll add one for the bottom here. Again, shooting from the car, I didn't really have time to set up on a tripod and really get like multiple exposures, so I'm just sort of editing for the top half and then the bottom, or the top 2/3 and the bottom third. I'll really boost my exposure here. It looks a little soft, but it's still usable. Really increase the warmth because the light in the scene was really warming up the earth and the mountains and just that overall valley. It wasn't really apparent in the original because of that windshield. Or let's see. No, I think I'll just add a radial filter and just focus on the mountains in the back here. I mean, I could use a brush, but a radial kind of works nice. It's just simple. You just kind of throw it there and you don't have to worry. Adjust it just a little bit. I don't really want it to touch the sky or the ground too much. And then I'll warm it up some more because you can see the light is definitely hitting it. And bring my exposure up. Yeah, I forgot to invert that. So now it should be affecting only the mountains. There we go. And when I look at this, I'm really just looking at the mountains now, and how to edit those and not really make it look as if they're out of place, but a part of it. Because sometimes when you edit individually with a graduated filter and a radial filter, you can make it as if these things, they aren't in the same space. They're just individually edited too heavy. So dehaze it a little bit. It is further back in the background. So, and it already was naturally hazy in the original image. Again, I shot this, I believe, at f4.0. So not your typical landscaping f-stop. I mean, usually f8, f16 will get you a really sharp image all throughout. I mean, this was really quick. We were going, I don't know, I'll say the speed limit. I mean, legally, supposed to drive speed limit, but I also shot it at a higher shutter speed in order to freeze the image and not be affected by too much motion blur. I think it was I don't know, 1/2500th of a second. So I'm gonna add a little bit more dehaze. Brings a little bit more natural contrast to the image. Really makes those clouds punchy. And then decrease my clarity here. Again, it's good to go back, and I like to look at my filters just to make sure it's not overdoing it. I like my images to still kind of look natural after the edit, especially with landscapes. You want them to look, I don't know, kind of unique, but in the same sense, I also want it to look the way that it did when I was there. So and you can see the graduated filters. The red is the area that is affected by the graduated filter. And that's about it. So it was a pretty quick edit. Didn't take too long. Most of my photos about this long. I kind of know going into it more or less what I want to do. And then it helps when you remember the scene. Sometimes you'll take the photo and you can't edit it until you get home. So again, using Lightroom, it's a really powerful tool. I really like it. And that's pretty much it. So that was the first episode of Lightroom Let's Edit. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you like this stuff, I'll keep it up. It's definitely a lot easier than writing out an entire blog. Talking on the microphone, though, is something that's completely new for me. So please be forgiving in the comment section if you thought that I was completely horrible. But again, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in another Let's Edit. All right, see ya.